us. So I wanted to introduce Dave Castelnuovo from Block Creative. And you guys are in for a treat. Dave has actually been in the games industry since 1992. And he's going to talk to us today about how do you create a top success like Pocket Gods for the iPhone and keep it up there on the charts for 2.5 years. And of course some of the new opportunities that he's learned about along the way that he's going to be introducing to us today as well. So with that, please welcome Dave.
Thanks everybody for inviting me down. My name's Dave, and I created a game called Pocket God about 2.5 years ago. It originally wasn't meant to be like the success that it's been. It's always meant to be a launching pad onto bigger and better things, just to get a little technology going for us. But it's really taken off. I started in the industry in 1992, where I worked on a lot of Sega Genesis properties. The very first project that I worked on was a game called Clay Fighter. And it's kind of funny because back in those days I worked at a third-party developer / sweatshop. Even at one point the owner of the company asked if I owned a cot so that I didn't have to go home to sleep or take a shower. But one of the cool things about it was that, you know, he instantly put me on with no experience onto a Sega Genesis game. It was just me as a programmer and someone else as an artist. And we could just kind of run the project how we wanted. If we needed a new tool or something, I could just build it. I was responsible at the end of the day for getting everything done. And things have kind of come around full circle for me, you know, because that's exactly how we built Pocket God. I'm the sole programmer on Pocket God. My partner Alan Dye does all the artwork, and it's just really refreshing to be able to, you know, work with someone that's really talented, someone that's really efficient in what they do, and just kind of crank out content week after week. Like I said, Pocket God was never really meant to be the success that it is. It was really just a third in a series of sprint projects that I set up for myself. I think like everybody in the game industry, you want to create your own games, you feel like you have some really cool ideas, and you know, a lot of times what happens is that you work on things for like maybe a month or two. Myself, I would get caught up in the technology portion of it, and then things would go up, would stall because you either get attracted to another idea or because you get wrapped up in like your development deadlines for your employee, and so for the company that you're working with. And so what I ended up doing for iOS was setting up sprint projects. The first one was 10 hours, where I would just get in, get through something, produce content, and just get it out there just to get in the production mindset. Pocket God happened to be the third project in that series, and we ended up allocating a week to build the initial release. And we're kind of in the right position. We're in the right place at the right time. Because it forced us to think a little bit differently. We ended up doing a sandbox application that a lot of people really responded to. We weren't really attached to the success of it because we kind of felt like we would end up doing another game as soon as this one came out, and so we were able to kind of exercise our mean sense of humor. And you know, at one point I tossed the pygmy into the water and watched it drown, and it was funny. And you know, it was just like really something that we built for our own satisfaction. And I think that ended up connecting. That was the aspect that ended up connecting with people and made it into the success. So one of the things that I think is interesting about Pocket God and some of the other games that have a long longevity is that they're not instant successes. You know, slow growth is okay. We took 2 months to get to #1, and we didn't have the benefit of any promotion from Apple, no advertising, no big articles on Gizmodo or anything like that. It was all just word of mouth and us just like really putting ourselves into it. Doodle Jump, you know, another huge success in the App Store, took 5 months to get to #6 and 10 months to get to #1. At one point, after it initially got into the top 100, it actually fell out of the top 100 for a few months before all of a sudden it had its resurgence, and by the time it was successful, started generating, you know, 1 million sales a month or more. Angry Birds, so you can't really argue with the type of dominance that Angry Birds has in the market right now, and they were not an instant success. It took them 2 months in order to get to #1, and even Chilingo, the company that published it, put it with their secondary brand, Click Gamer, because I guess they felt that it was a budget title. You know, no one really felt that it was going to be like the success that it was, but yet they worked hard, did a lot of updates, and they convinced people in order to support the application. So I kind of think, you know, at a lot of these talks, you know, people talk about, you know, marketing, cross-promotion, different ways to try to, you know, game the system and get it up there, but I kind of look at those things as artificial boosts in your ranking. And I think it's about time that for people to bring it back to the game itself. I really think that the game is where you need to generate the word of mouth. The game is where you need to, you know, make people listen and make people see what you're doing. We do that by doing a ton of updates. When the game first came out, you know, people saw that there wasn't a lot to do, but they liked the principle. And so we reached out to the fan base and we told them that we would end up doing weekly updates, at least for the first 2 or 3, but we ended up doing 14 updates every single week. And this really made our user base, really got their attention. You know, they saw the support that we put into the project. They really saw, like, every single week a brand new piece of functionality, that we weren't just like shipping bug fixes or, you know, a new leaderboard or something like that. We were putting in real effort and real content into the game. We also build momentum in the game through strong community interaction. You know, we are really paying attention to, you know, what our fans say about the game. We rely on them for ideas and inspiration for all of our updates. We even go so far as to, if we're in the middle of working on an update and our fan base, you know, responds negatively to it, we'll change it and we'll really listen to them and do something that they want. And what this does is it really creates a kind of ownership on behalf of our community, where they feel like they know the game developers, where they feel like they have part in the game design, and they really have a vested interest in the success of the app. You know, they're the first ones to tell their family, friends, parents, whatever, about the game Pocket God, and they're really legitimately excited if we put something in that they talked about on the forums. The third thing we try to do in order to, you know, keep the application up is get people talking. And this, I think, is a really important aspect of it, you know, because you could have a nice game, you could have a nice app, but unless people really respond to it in a strong manner and tell their friends about it, you know, it's not really going to have the kind of virality that you're looking for. We tend to get people talking through by keeping things topical, and so we'll put things like, you know, we introduced the Charlie Sheen Pygmy, we did the Double Rainbow update. I actually have a little bit of a demo of that. So this is the Charlie Pygmy, and so for some reason Charlie has an aversion to food.
It's for trolls.
He doesn't like sleep.
People need sleep.
He doesn't like sleep. And for some reason,
On my back. Cool. Winning on my back.
he enjoys having a monkey on his back. Here's a taste of the Double Rainbow update.
On my back. Double rainbow all the way across. Double rainbow. Oh my god.
So one of the funny things about the Double Rainbow update is that some people were introduced to this through our game, and they actually went to the Double Rainbow's YouTube channel and told him, hey, you guys stole this from Pocket God. What are you doing? So he had the Double Rainbow guy email us angrily saying, what are you telling your fan base? You're libeling. You're saying that you came up with it yourselves. But like things like that, you know, we use to get people talking, you know, to create some kind of like viral nature where they're going to like tell their parents and say, oh my God, check this out, look at what they're doing. You know, in a lot of ways similar to the way South Park handles their TV show. You know, South Park addresses some kind of like topical pop culture phenomenon, or they do something, you know, kind of edgy, and you tell your friends like, hey, did you see that episode of South Park last night? It's really awesome. You should watch it. So what we're trying to do is capture that same kind of essence in our app, and use that to bolster our rankings, and use that to get new users into our game. So one of the things, I mean, right now I'm talking a lot about like how to use your game in order to build momentum, and that's not to say that we don't use things like marketing, press, cross promotions, and things like that. We just use it very, very sparingly. Everybody has an app in the App Store has seen those apps that when they come out in the first week, they raise up to the number 1 or the top 5, and then after 2 weeks, they're completely out of the top 100. Those are apps that utilize cross promotion and marketing and press too much. You know, there's not enough virality in the game itself. There's not as much attention, and they basically artificially boost the rank. And as soon as the press is gone, as soon as the Apple promotion is gone, it sinks like a rock. So there is so what you want to do is use these things sparingly. We tend to use it, you know, before Christmas, before holidays, things like that, where we really want to get like a solid rank push. And then we basically hold off on it for the rest of the year so that it can store up. Really good cross promotion with Doodle Jump, where they incorporated our character into their game. We actually put a complete Doodle Jump game inside of Pocket God, and it did really well. We got like a pretty nice boost out of it. But after we did like 3 or 4 of them, we stopped seeing a boost after a while, and that's one of the dangers that you run into whenever you rely on something like this. Our very first Apple promotion boosted our rank really nicely, but after we got like 3 or 4 of them, it didn't boost it at all. So when you find something like this that moves the needle for you, don't overuse it. You know, really try and figure out like what time of the year is going to be strategic for you, and really try to make sure that you only use it for maximum benefit at that time. Of course, this is strategy for a paid app. Freemium is a little bit different. Freemium, there's actually, you know, it needs to be part of your business model, but this is just what we've learned from our own use. So with the success of Pocket God, new business opportunities has opened up for us, specifically licensing. I've never been exposed to anything like this in the past, but it's actually been, you know, right up our alley. The whole purpose behind our company is to kind of stay small and to really stay in touch with the creative and the game development. You know, my interest is in programming games, doing game design, learning how to make better content. It's not really so much building a company, getting funding, and managing growth. And so licensing helps us to achieve that. You know, I think last year I was on a panel and the moderator asked me, you know, well, if you got $15 million, well, that would mean that, you know, you could build more projects and you could grow faster. But licensing gives you the benefit of getting those projects built, but yet still retaining 100% of the IP. So after the licensing deal is done in 2 years, if you want to grow and if you want to bring it in-house, you can do that. So these are the types of licensing deals that are out there. We haven't gotten into the consoles yet just because they're fairly big projects and we don't want it to distract us from our main business model, which is iPhone. We do license for other platforms. NGMoko has actually licensed Pocket God for Android and Windows Phone 7, and they're doing a great job in terms of managing the project, keeping our involvement down to a minimum, where we just have to do things at the high level. Facebook, we actually licensed out Pocket God to a company in Canada named Freema. They actually created the project for us, and they're currently managing it right now. We just signed a t-shirt deal, comics. I'm a huge fan of comics, you know, ever since I was a teenager, and so the comic one is really means a lot to me. We have 7 issues now. The Pocket God comics is, you know, a regular in the top 5 of grossing in the books category on the App Store, and this is comparable to basically DC and Marvel's entire catalog. You know, we regularly beat them in revenue on a daily basis, which means our 7 comics are selling just as much as the entire catalog of Captain America, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. Toys. We're starting to get into toys, plushies, you know, things like that. But you know, we really want to be careful. We want to make sure that we get the right deal, and that the partner that we choose for each of these is going to really produce a high-quality product. So here's the benefits of licensing. Like I said before, you own 100% of your IP. So typically, a licensing deal might be for anywhere between a year to 3 years of time. But then after that, the IP rights usually, the rights for that channel usually revert back to you. No investment, and that's great, because you don't have to raise funding and you don't have to put the money in that, your application earned from the original game. Sometimes you get a minimum guarantee or some upfront money. Not always. It depends on the value of your brand and the perceived value of the category that you're trying to get in. And no need for a hiring spree. This is really important to us because we want to stay small, and I feel that a lot of companies, when they become successful and they start getting an office and start growing to X number of people, sometimes you just have a directive that you have to hire 10 engineers and 10 artists within the next couple of months. And really, how can you manage quality like that? For me, it's all about keeping things small, making sure that everybody that gets introduced to our projects is super high quality, and I don't feel like I can do that job if we're forced to hire a huge amount of people. But that said, there's things that you have to watch out for with licensing. The most important part is that your partner is never going to care about the IP as much as you do. Especially if you're an independent developer, this is going to be your baby. This is something that you worked hard, that you saw become successful. And for another licensor, it's like maybe 1 out of 10 projects. Of course they're going to want to see it succeed. Of course they're going to have a vested interest, especially if they're investing money into the development of it. But they're not going to have the same kind of long-term attachment to it as you do. In fact, they're going to have slightly different business goals. Usually if you're a licensor, you want to license maybe 10 IP per year, and you want to get revenue out of it as fast as you can. And this can lead to taking shortcuts in the terms of the quality. Everybody wants to make a great game or a great product right off the bat, but sometimes when the rubber hits the road, you're going to want to. They might want to take shortcuts and just get it out there. Whereas you're concerned about keeping the brand relevant for the next 10 years or so. And it still requires a lot of management. You might think that when you're dealing with a licensing partner that you're going to really give up. You're not going to have to work at it. Since you don't have the team in house, you're not going to have to deal with all the management concerns. But when you're dealing with a partner, you're going to have to be really involved. If you want to really ensure the quality of it, you're going to have to be involved from the start. Really set the bar for whatever the quality you want to reach, and then the whole way, keep checking it. We actually have a story about our first foray into the world of plushies, and we wanted to just do a deal. We got a deal out of the way, and things were looking good. The design phase was great. Everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, we received the batch of 500 plushies, and they were all horribly misshapen and deformed. So even though things might look like they're going okay, you really have to make sure all the way through to the end that your project is free from problems, and that you're going to be delivering a quality product. So, in the end, as a little bit of a summary, slow growth I think is okay. In fact, if your growth is too quick, you might end up doing yourself a disservice because your rank's going to completely tank as soon as the artificial boosts are complete. I think the game itself should be a source of virality. Basically, don't rely on advertising, cross-promotion, etc. Really make sure that the game speaks to people and that you really get their attention. Use artificial sales boosts sparingly. If you find something that moves the needle, like let's say an article with Gizmodo or an advertising campaign along a specific channel, if you overuse it, you will get diminishing returns, so be careful of that. Licensing is a great way to grow, especially if you're an independent developer that wants to stick around and be associated with the actual development of the game and not getting into raising funding. But licensing still takes a lot of effort. You have to manage it the entire way, make sure that they're going to build the product that you're going to be proud of. So that's my presentation. Anybody?